I'm pretty sure that this perfectly represents what just happened within the, quote, Trump MAGA movement.
Hey, we were back here hoping we could get those mass deportations now. This crap is really distracting him.
What? It's exactly what I voted for.
That last bit is perfect, as of course, that was our friend from Freedom Tunes. Go watch the full video. We only played you a short snippet of it. We'll put it in the description, as of course, right now we are having the MAGA infighting event of the century that is divided amongst the MAGAs and the MAGAs, as now Donald Trump has come out and said that his fiercest, starchest, most biggest enemy isn't the Democrats, isn't the communists, isn't the huge organizations and billionaires coalescing against him that were also on Epstein client list. It is no one other than Thomas Massie. As of course, right now, Donald Trump has started a very big political movement, Super PAC advertisements. We have the first advertisement that we're going to be playing in this particular video that attacks Thomas Massie. As of course, the history there runs deep, and it all started during the COOF lockdown years. What's really going on here? What is there to think about? Whose side are you on? Whose side am I on? I will tell you at the end of this video, but of course, we wanted to fill you in on all the craziness and drama unfolding in our political discourse, as of course, Donald Trump called Thomas Massie a loser. Why did he do that? We're going to talk about that. But subscribe, click the notification button. It is predominantly because Thomas Massie, a member of Congress, specifically representing Kentucky, a man with a lot of libertarian, fiscal, conservative, freedom-oriented values, a man that some people really like, some people don't like. I disagree with some of his political opinions. I'm a big fan of his cluck capacitor and his ability to be able to actually explain to the American people core constitutional liberty-minded issues that I think are more important than ever to be reminded of. I think he is, in my opinion, one of the most important members of Congress, as of course he was one of the only Republicans that came out and said, hey, if we are going to have a war, we need to at least vote for it. And he started the War Powers Resolution Act, which no other member of the Republican political party co-sponsored. A lot of other Democrats co-sponsored it, as of course he just said, hey, if we're going to be at a war with Iran, if we're going to be bombing Iran, Congress should vote for it. And even Nancy Pelosi herself said, hey, there should have been a vote in Congress for this, but overall she supports the United States treating Israel like its greatest ally. As of course, there's a lot of things surrounding that country that Thomas Massie doesn't play ball with. As of course, he then just a couple years ago also leaked how every member of the government in Congress has an AIPAC representative. As of course, now NBC writes about how Thomas Massie is finding himself on an island in a feud with Trump as Republican lawmakers are steering clear of the intra-party showdown with Trump's team targeting Massie for defeat in next year's midterm elections. Now, this is kind of disappointing, to be quite honest with you, because I think the core values of what both of these men kind of represent are more aligned with each other than any other political opponent and political person in the same kind of political party. If you look at the whole MAGA movement, and if you look at a lot of the kind of core individuals behind it, if you look at some of the biggest individuals, they are more aligned with Thomas Massie than they are with the likes of Lindsey Graham. Now, Donald Trump has been going above and beyond for Lindsey Graham, and his statements against Thomas Massie, the infighting within the Republican political party, is really disappointing. As, of course, now we have the first political attack ad that Donald Trump is sending. You would think Donald Trump would be trying to, of course, rally against the liberals, the Democrats, the communists, especially now since, a Muslim socialist literally just won the New York City mayoral primary. You would think that we would have our priorities in line instead of infighting over someone who wants to just vote on war. that would be the nice thing here. I want to go over this ad because it's really a slimy kind of boomer ad that really is underhanded, to say the least here. Let's just play a few seconds of it, and then we'll go clip by clip. But again, don't be fooled here. A lot of this is being done mainly because of the AIPAC lobby, but more predominantly because Donald Trump wants to send a message. If you stand against me, I will destroy you. And this is something that he has threatened Massie with before. Now he is starting a Super PAC, spending money, and now promising to campaign directly in Kentucky against Thomas Massie, which, of course, Kentuckians do like Donald Trump. Here's the beginning of this ad.
What happened to Thomas Massie? President Trump is banning sex change.
Yeah. What happened to Thomas Massie? Look, and then they pick just the most nastiest, disgusting type of filter and image and photo of him. And then they go over all the bills that Thomas Massie voted no. And it's not that Thomas Massie voted no on these specific issues. He voted no on these huge omnibus bills. And we'll explain the nuance of it, as of course there's a lot to get into. But before getting into that and a lot more, we wanted to remind you to check out our shop, wearechange.shop. Because just like the reputation of Thomas Massie, we make sure to uphold our core principal values of trying to do our best to uplift, help, and make people the best, most amazing versions of themselves. And we're living in a world, sadly, where our macronutrients are just being obliterated, and they're not really in our food like they used to be. And that's why I started wearechange.shop. One of my favorite supplements is, of course, magnesium glycinate. It is awesome if you are trying to heal your nervous system, if you're trying to get some rest and recovery, if you're trying to get good sleep, and you're trying to get better at athletic performance. Magnesium glycinate is your go-to spot. It is right here on my desk here. And then, of course, we also have a magnesium mist. We should do a magnesium combo. But that, I think this is in the Father's Day bundle, since, of course, a lot of people are very deficient in magnesium. It's very difficult to test. You can't test it with your blood, by the way. But the overall studies that are being done on the average American are finding that, yeah, they do not have enough magnesium. And magnesium is central for the key function of your nervous system. And a lot of people's nervous systems are fried. It shows. As sadly, a lot of people are not doing that well physically, mentally. And that's why I'm like, hey, guys, you got to be super paranoid about your health, your personal well-being, and you got to make sure you go out of your way to take care of yourself. Now, when it comes to any supplement, I always take half a dose for about a week. I see how I feel. I take it for a day. I take a break. And I'm like, okay, how did that go? What's going on here? Am I getting some better sleep and recovery here? Am I actually feeling something? Am I actually getting something in response to this? And having a little health journal, having a gratitude journal, and having a journal where you're able to keep track of your sleep, your stress, your habits, everything that you're doing is absolutely one of the things that I do that I would personally recommend people do themselves. Magnesium, for me, if you take too much of it, you definitely get the mud butt. But anyway, before putting anything into your body, do your own homework, do your own research, talk to medical professionals. But to me, magnesium glycinate has been a major game changer, and it could be for you. I know a lot of people that are just like freaking out, and I'm like, take some magnesium glycinate. It will help you. And for a lot of the people, it actually does. Now, let's go here back to this video here. Of course, look, evil Massie, yeah. Look, it's penguin-like Kishi. Look at that. Yeah, the biggest tax cut in history. He doesn't want you to have it. Again, this plays on the low IQ kind of boomer. And there's Listen. Say what you may about Kentucky. Will this campaign actually work here? Well, it definitely does look like Donald Trump is being more aggressive than he ever was before. And who knows how this is going to play out. But if he's spending his political capital going after fellow Republicans, I mean, really? Come on. There's like swing districts that you could be spending your time on that could make the biggest difference in the House of Representatives, in the Senate, which could help you pass your kind of bills and agenda here. Thomas Massie, even though he voted no on some issues, he's still willing to play ball on some issues as well here, especially when it comes to being a more kind of MAGA libertarian kind of centered individual. But here continues the ad, by the way.
Trump is cutting taxes and saving Kentucky families $10,000. Massie voted against it.
He voted against giving you $10,000. That's not how it worked, actually. It doesn't have any basis. But you tell a bunch of boomers, you could have had $10,000 if it wasn't for Thomas Massie. Really? Come on now.
President Trump is securing our border and deporting criminal aliens. Massie voted against Trump again.
Now, I disagree with Massie on that. And again, we could agree to disagree. I think the border policies, he's a little weak on personally. But whatever. We can disagree on it.
And after Trump obliterated Iran's nuclear weapons program, Massie sided with Democrats and the Ayatollah.
He's with the Ayatollah. Oh! He's with that turban wearing, flip-flop wearing Middle Eastern guy. Listen, I don't think Thomas Massie is with the Ayatollah. He simply literally said, hey, if we're going to attack this, let's have a vote in Congress about this. Clearly, he's anti-war. But to say he's with the Ayatollah. Come on, really, it's pathetic.
Let's fire Thomas Massie. MAGA Kentucky is responsible for the content of this advertisement.
And then who is behind MAGA Kentucky? Donald Trump and a lot of the big super PACs and a lot of the big special interest groups. Of course, this is the new $1 million ad buy. And again, we're not even entering election cycle, okay? This is preemptive of election cycle. And this is just the beginning. Listen, people are saying Massie's not going to win this one. And if he does actually lose this one and Trump is actually the one who's responsible for this, I think this is just a bad move. This is just a dumb move. We saw Katcher trying to attack Thomas Massie. Says, who's Massie's biggest donor? His biggest donors are retired individuals and Republican conservative groups. As, of course, he has been very publicly critical of people getting contributions from AIPAC. And there's a lot of politicians getting money from AIPAC. He doesn't get any. And then he talked about the representative that they force on everybody. DC Drano was like, a $1 million ad spend buys a lot of negative TV ads in rural Kentucky. DC, come on, really? This is the fight that you guys are cheerleading on now? This is kind of ridiculous here. As Maj Touré says, time for everyone across the country to donate to Thomas Massie again. It'd be pretty amazing if you raised $10 million off this latest smear campaign. Here's the direct link to do so. As, of course, Thomas Massie went on Face the Nation and then openly talked about how neocons, pro-war, crazy individuals are trying to attack him because he doesn't want to, of course, acquiesce with the bigger kind of war machine out there.
What he promised us was we would put America first. And I think there are still voices in this administration. You've still got J.D. Vance. You've still got Tulsi Gabbard. You still, RFK Jr., you still got calmer heads that could prevail.
They were not persuasive in this case, clearly.
Well, somebody was persuasive. AIPAC is very persuasive. For instance, the Israeli lobby in Congress. If you look at my colleagues' feeds now, they all look the same. They're all tweeting the same message that we've got to support Israel and we've got to do this.
Listen, he's not wrong, and that's probably why there's such a major effort to, of course, kick him out of political office. As Thomas Massie said, I'm going to program my debt badge to display the number of milliseconds that have elapsed since Donald Trump has tweeted at me last. As Donald Trump has been on a major Truth Social post storm against Thomas Massie, saying, get this bum out of office ASAP. And then talked about how he is not MAGA, quote, and MAGA doesn't want him. And again, this is the guy who's just talking about MAGA and doesn't respect him. He has negative force who almost always votes no matter how good something may be. He's a simple-minded grandstander who thinks good politics for Iran is to have the highest level of nuclear weapons. I don't think he said that, okay? While at the same time yelling death to America at any chance they get. And again, he goes off the Iranians here. Let's just be real with ourselves here. The biggest type of opposition that Thomas Massie represents here is showing that, hey, we're not all in line. We could all speak out against some of this nonsense out here. And Thomas is choosing to speak out against it. As, of course, this is what he had to say on the Theo Von show, which has galvanized a lot of views and a lot of attention.
Do we need this connection with Israel? What is it? No one ever explains what it's for, I feel like, right? That would help everybody have a much better understanding, you know? Because it starts to feel like America is just a shell company, an LLC for Israel. That's what it starts to feel like a lot of times, you know? Do you feel like that's realistic, or do you feel like that's off base?
I wouldn't send him a dime. Like, that's my position. I don't think whatever we're getting isn't worth it.
Now, that idea is very dangerous to the mind of the average American who's saying, hey, can we just take care of our own problems? As, of course, Caroline Sunshine, I believe she was a part of Trump's campaign, came out and said, President Trump, please do not let boomer consultants grift off of you. This $1 million TV ad is lighting money on fire and makes consultants rich. Thomas Massie just did an episode this week on Theo Von's podcast that hit nearly 1 million views in 48 hours. Read the 5,000 plus comments. They're overwhelmingly pro-Massie and thanking him for calling out U.S. involvement in the Israeli-Iran war and speaking up for them. They're the same MAGA base that voted for your anti-war message. Yes, that Theo Von, the one whose audience and podcast episodes arguably helped elect President Trump, this audience can crown presidents or crush ones. That's why J.D. Vance just did Von's show too. He knows the 2028 GOP primary and election goes through the podcast circuit now, not just Fox News. And right now, this crowd hates the war talk and loves Massie's messaging. President Trump's messaging on Israel versus Iran might play well on Fox News, but in the world that actually turns out new voters and drives the culture online, it's flopping. The podcast audience is overwhelmingly young males, 84% people, 30 and 59% of men don't support U.S. involvement in the Israeli-Iran conflict. This ad is going to get ripped to shreds by the very audience that delivered President Trump his margin in 2024. Podcast listeners don't just ignore these ads. They correctly mock them as boomer. Meanwhile, Massie's appearance with Theo Von, plus the ripple effect on online clips, shorts, reels, and memes will do more for free than a $1 million TV PAC ad ever could. The problem is the consultants behind the TV ad understand the podcast media landscape about as well as George W. Bush understood the Middle East. It's all a fungazi. They don't understand the audience. They don't respect the medium, and they're about to get smoked by it. Yeah. I mean, listen, if we look at what's going to be happening in the midterms right now, it's not looking good for the Republicans at all. Now, Ron Paul came out and said Donald Trump is showing poor taste by attacking Thomas Massie. Tim Pool came out. This was in May of this year, saying, I think Thomas Massie is our best rep in Congress, but I understand the political game Trump is playing. As, of course, Trump previously attacked Thomas Massie because he stood up against the big and beautiful bill, which Thomas Massie said would raise the deficit and, of course, spend more money than we actually had here. As, of course, this is not the first time that Donald Trump threatened Thomas Massie. As, of course, he threatened to kick him out of the party for not going along with the 15 days to slow the spread in 2020. Or was it 2021? I don't remember the exact date. But during the Koof years, you know what I'm talking about here. Here's Massie explaining that situation.
So he said he would, on the phone, he told me he was going to come at me like I'd never in your life before have you seen the way in which I will come at you.
Trump said that. Awesome.
Yeah, he said. I feel like he also reminded me, which is true, he's more popular than me in Kentucky. And he said it would be the end of me.
Now, will it be? Who knows? As, of course, Thomas Massie was one of the lone opposition to the CARES Act, which, by the way, funded everything from mail-in voting, which a lot of people argue made the biggest difference in the 2020 elections, to, quote, the most tyrannical COOF policies. On the day, he calls out influencers for taking money under the table to tweet. Every hack and grifter, Anons included, comes from him. Yeah, there's also a campaign that was instituted by an organization that was going around to influencers and saying, hey, attack Thomas Massie, we'll pay you for it. And guess what? A lot of those people who claim to be MAGA, took that money and then they attacked him. Now, Thomas Massie here previously got an endorsement from Donald Trump in 2022, as Donald Trump specifically told people to vote for him because he was a protector of liberties, especially the First and Second Amendment, which he says was under the siege by the radical left. I think the radical left is something that I think we should be fighting. I don't think we should be fighting ourselves here, as Massie is now saying that he has Trump antibodies. And again, when Trump was governing during the Koof years, he specifically pointed out Thomas Massie and Sweden for not locking down and not being a proponent of locking down. In hindsight, Sweden and Thomas Massie were right, as the lockdowns created a lot of irreversible harm to small businesses and other individuals out there that had their lives destroyed and wrecked by big government that shut them down. Listen, he's not a perfect man, but I think Thomas Massie is worth having around. And instead of just maybe fighting ourselves, I think maybe it would be more advantageous for us to join forces and to try to, of course, fight back against some of this leftist lunacy here. And again, lots of influencers are for purchase, and there have been so many influencers that have been bought off. And listen, people were literally bought off to attack Thomas Massie here. That's what's happening. That's what's going on. For me personally, I like Thomas. I think he has done an incredible job. I disagree with some of his stuff, and we could all disagree. But when it comes to this swampland, I agree with Tim Pool. He's the best one. He's the best one, if one of the best ones, if not the best one out there. I wish Donald Trump would not focus on him and would focus on helping Republicans get the majority. And I think he needs to do that. This, I think, is another distraction, and I think this is overall will just hurt the Republican Party, as, of course, resources, time, and energy is being spent fighting each other rather than actually trying to get something accomplished, and I think that's silly. And if you agree, share this video. Let's give Trump some magnesium glycinate so he calms down there, maybe. Would that work? I don't know. It might work for you on WeAreChange.shop. Stay tuned for more, all here exclusively on youtube.com/WeAreChange.